This is happening because of something called the human capital resource theory of economic development. And it's where the key economic resources are talent, creativity, and innovation. And the simple fact of the matter is they are not distributed evenly. It's just the connectivity makes it seem as if they are. These regions are the real drivers of the economy now. And they're becoming spikier and spikier while the other things are becoming deeper and deeper. What's important to remember here is, unlike, for instance, say the steel industry in this country many, many decades ago, these are not happening because of specialization. These are happening because of innovation. And it's innovation being driven by diverse resources, bringing their creativity to it. And these diverse resources attract each other. It's tied to what's called the rise of the creative class, where the key economic resource is creativity. What we have to be thinking about, because what is changing so significantly, is what's necessary to even enter the conversation. It's not what it used to be. That's where Pink's ideas come in, and the other things that I'm talking about tonight come in. It's very much, this idea of creativity is just crucial. It's scary. It's frightening. It may require breaking some frameworks. But to borrow from Picasso, sometimes to create, you have to destroy. This is Ken Robinson. Ken Robinson is an expert on human creativity. He received his Order of the British Empire for the work that he did in their educational system. And Robinson holds out that all human beings are inherently creative. He says we can foster it in people. We can make them more creative in that sense. And he says the problem is now that rather than foster it, we tend to damp it down. And he tells a story to make his point. As you walk into a kindergarten class and you say, "Who's an artist?" And all of the hands go up. And then you go into about 6th grade, "Who's an artist?" And maybe half of the hands will go up. You go into an upper school classroom and maybe 2 or 3 hands will go up. You go into a room of adults and you say, "Who's an artist?" And very frequently, no hands will go up. And Robinson holds out that creativity is absolutely vital, that it's an essential part of human beings. Maslow, in fact, added creativity and learning to his hierarchy of human needs. Think about where we would be if not for human creativity. If the first person hadn't figured out that a stick can somehow be used as a tool. That was an act of creativity. Every great revolution in human history has somehow been caused by creativity, intellectual creativity, as well as courage. And if you look at Robinson's definition of creativity up there, it very much ties in with Pink's ideas of synthesis and play, or what Einstein called combinatorial play. This has big implications for some of the things that have traditionally undergrounded the work of education, namely knowledge and intelligence. And just as Einstein shook up the world of classical physics, some of what's happening now should shake up education. Because right now we're in the midst of an odd couple situation. Okay? Remember this show? Felix and Oscar? Okay? Felix always had on the suit, tie knotted up, everything had its exact place. Okay? Home was absolutely spotless, everything. Whereas Oscar was the slob who would put a cigar out anywhere, and whenever he wanted to find something would just pull out a box and shuffle through it until he found it. Here's how we've traditionally organized knowledge. We like to label it and make it nice and neat. Okay? Think about how you studied things. You have a tree, and you have your trunk, and then you have your branches, And then you have your twigs that come out from your branches, and then you have your leaves. And each little distinct piece of knowledge would be one of those leaves, and you could only place it on one twig. But in the real world, if you were to take these butterflies, and also the way that knowledge exists, it exists a whole lot more like this. Something that Oscar could be pretty comfortable with. Most of the things that we really know and understand defy easy categorization. Because of that, as well as some of the other things that are happening, we're organizing knowledge in new ways. This is something called a tag cloud. This one happens to come from a site called Delicious, which is a place where you can find things online and put tags on them and organize them so that you can find them very easily. And some of you are probably familiar with tagging. Maybe you've done it on photographs or things like that. And basically, you get your piece of information and you put a few labels on it so you can find it very easily. When you create a tag cloud, the size of the word indicates to you how often you have used that tag. So you can look at it and really follow patterns. This is happening for two reasons. One is just because it makes more sense in terms of organizing knowledge. Secondly, because there's so much information out there. Another little history lesson for you. A week's worth of the New York Times is more than the average person read in a lifetime in the 18th century. We add 1.5 exabytes. An exabyte is 10 to the 18th power. You're learning all kinds of things about exponents tonight. 1 times 10 to the 18th power, 1.5, of new information every year. That's more than people had available for 5,000 years. It's why we perform so many Google searches. I think the last statistic I read said 3 billion a month.